Reading from Isaiah's prophecy. The people who have walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shined. For a child has been born for us, a son given to us. Authority rests upon his shoulders. He is named Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. His authority shall grow continually, and there shall be endless peace for the throne of David and his kingdom. He will establish and uphold it with justice and righteousness from the time onward and forevermore. The seal of the Lord of hosts will do this.
Luke's Gospel in the 2nd chapter. In that region, and in those days, a decree went out from Emperor Augustus that all the world should be registered. This was the first registration that was taken while Quirinius was governor of Syria. All went to their own towns to be registered. Joseph also went from the town of Nazareth in Galilee to Judea, to the city of David called Bethlehem, because he was descended from the house and the family of David. He went to be registered with Mary, to whom he was engaged, and who was expecting a child. While they were there, the time came for her to deliver her child. And she gave birth to her firstborn son, and wrapped him in bands of cloth, and laid him in a manger, because there was no room for them in the inn.
before them. The glory of the Lord shone around them. They were terrified, but the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid, for see, I am bringing you great news of great joy for all the people. To you is born this day in the city of David a Savior who is the Messiah, the Lord. This will be a sign for you. You will find a child wrapped in bands of cloth and lying in a manger." And suddenly there was an angel, a multitude of heavenly hosts, praising God and saying, "Glory to God in the highest heaven, and on earth peace among those whom he favors." And when the angels had left them and gone into heaven, the shepherds said to one another, "Let us go now to Bethlehem and see this thing that is taking place, which the Lord had made known to us." So they went with haste and found Mary and Joseph and the child lying in the manger. When they saw this, they made known what had been told to them about this child. And all who heard it were amazed at what the shepherds told them. But Mary treasured all these words and pondered them in her heart. The shepherds returned, glorifying and praising God for all they had heard and seen, as it had been told to them. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
Thanks be to God.
From kindergarten through the third grade, I was in a private day school. There were only 8 children in my class. I remember getting along really well with most of those children. There are a few of my classmates that I cannot remember this many years later. And there was one child in particular that I simply did not like. I don't even remember why. What I do recall is that one year, with my birthday fast approaching, it was time to extend invitations to the party. I had a hunch that my mother would never go for my plan. Even so, I informed her of my intention to invite every child in the class except for that one boy. She listened carefully and patiently to all that I had to say. And then, frowning with disappointment, she explained that I needed to extend the invitation to everyone. "Even if you are reluctant," she said, "it is the right thing to do." In the course of that brief conversation, she taught me a number of valuable lessons about relationship with her and with other people, and even with God. The French philosopher Gabriel Marcel contends that the human person is discoverable only in relation to other persons, experienced first in the womb, and in a child's experience of her own parents, we become aware of the self. And then, by continuing such relations responsibly, we learn about the nature of hope. A child recognizes herself in relation to her parents, while her parents find their way as parents in relation to her. As a mother prepares to give birth, she does not know which specific hardships await, or even when and where those difficult conversations will take place. From the beginning, she simply falls in love, not with some abstract ideal of a baby, but rather with a particular child with whom she is already and will continue to grow in relationship. In Luke's Gospel, Mary is chosen, for reasons both known and hidden, to bear the Son of God. And soon, she falls in love with that particular baby named Jesus. It is Mary who will provide for his nourishment and dry his tears and calm his anxieties. It is she who will teach him to make good choices. And it is she who will introduce him to the world, sometimes kind and joyful, and sometimes harsh beyond measure. Recently, a church member told me about a conversation that moved her. A small child was approaching the schoolyard with her mother one blustery morning. The temperature had dipped below freezing. Snow lay on the ground, and notably, neither the parent nor the child were wearing hats or mittens. "Mom," the child said, "people at school make fun of me because we are poor." "Well, you know what?" the mother responded. "Just because we are poor does not make us lesser than anyone else." As I heard that story, I immediately thought about Mary. Perhaps you remember the occasion as well, when Jesus was growing in stature and in status. And someone asked him, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" That's the same kind of put down, isn't it? I have now served as a Presbyterian minister for 13 years. And while I am proudly steeped in the Reformed tradition, I find much to appreciate in one of Pope Francis's Christmas time reflections. Isaiah's prophecy, he writes, announces the rising of a great light which breaks through the night. This light is born in Bethlehem and is welcomed with loving arms by Mary, by the love of Joseph, by the wonder of the shepherds. When the angels announced the birth of the Redeemer to the shepherds, they did so with these words, "This will be a sign for you. You will find a baby wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger." This sign is, in fact, the humility of God. The humility of God taken to the extreme. It is the love with which that night he assumed our frailty, our suffering, our anxieties, our desires, and our limitations. That message that everyone was expecting, that everyone was searching for in the depths of their souls, was none other than that of the tenderness of God. God who looks upon us with eyes of love, who accepts us in our poverty. God who is with us in love in our smallness. In the Christmas message, we find a meaningful word of inclusion. That we know very well. But so too we hear a word of challenge. A challenge regarding whose lives matter and whose stories hold sway. After all, it's one thing, isn't it, to maintain that everyone is finally invited to the party, as my mother reminded me all those many years ago. And it's another thing entirely to personally invite those folks that we know ought to be here and to make them feel welcome among us. Impoverished or not, many people arrive at Christmas exhausted by the material demands of this season, worn out from shopping and decorating, worried about debts incurred or family members' hopes disappointed. Even in the church, attention may veer away from the central Christian story and work of welcome in favor of demanding perfection in decor or music. Yet, as Anna Olson reminds us, even if the choir is occasionally sour in note, or someone's idea of beautiful clashes with someone else's in the congregation, Christmas comes in all of its power when we open our Bibles once again. The unexpected arrival of the Messiah in the form of a baby from a poor family born in a manger to unmarried parents speaks directly to the ways that the gospel story consistently deviates from claims of respectability and prioritization of social stability. Yes, whether or not The home is beautifully decorated, the tree stocked with gifts, a perfect meal under preparation, the harmonious family gathered in love and joy. Christmas Eve in the church is a time when anyone can find room at the Christmas table. Christ is born for the lonely, the broke, the disorganized, and the conflicted, just as for those who better fit society's measures and expectations. After overhearing that young child tell her mother about the pain that her siblings and even beyond that, her classmates were ultimately pausing her by picking on her about the things that she did not have, the church member that I mentioned before returned to that same location the following day, just outside the courtyard, bearing hats and mittens as a sign of common humanity born in Christian love. Friends, may we be so inspired to give of ourselves to the glory of God. And all thanks be to the God of love, both now and forever. Amen. I invite you now to please stand with me as we hold our bulletins proudly and affirm our faith together, using the words that are found there.